Welcome to the Art of Listening to Your Body podcast. My name is Jin Ong and I'm your host. I love talking about the mind-body connection and how your physical body manifests your emotional state and how this leads to living a life grounded in values and driven by purpose. Just a heads up that there are a few expletives in this podcast, so if you do have kids around and you don't want them to hear the F-bomb, then pop your headphones in or take time to listen to this when you're on your own. Welcome to today's podcast, where I'm joined by a very inspirational person currently embarking on her own full-time health journey, where she's embraced both conventional medicine and looked outside the box and sought alternative treatments for both physical and mental emotional well-being. We'll start with a health disclaimer due to the nature of what we will be discussing. Please note that if you ever have a serious health condition, it is important that you do seek professional guidance and support. This is a personal story, which I'm so grateful has been shared, as it shows what is available out there, and we both hope this inspires you to dig deeper, look within, and ask for help. My guest is the wonderful Kate Callaghan, also known as a holistic nutritionist online. She also has a background as a dietitian, and she's an author and an international speaker. Her book, Eat Well, Train Smart and Be Kind to Your Body, is a holistic and down-to-earth guide for optimizing women's hormones. Kate is passionate about healing women's hormones and fast-tracking them to health and happiness through nutrient-dense foods, low-tox living, rejuvenating movement, unconditional self-love, and mindful and sustainable practices. She also runs online courses to help women whose periods are missing in action. Before all of this, she worked as a beauty publicist and at McDonald's.
That was a long time ago.
After experiencing her own hormonal chaos and infertility, being told that she wouldn't have kids, she was able to heal herself and now has 2 kids, Olivia and Ed. But that's actually a whole other story, which we might go into a little later today. Late last year, in 2019, at the age of 35, Kate discovered a lump on her breast. Her openness about her journey has already inspired many to make changes, take action, and advocate for themselves. She knows that she has something to share from this experience that will have a wider impact on our community and well-being. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you so much, Jen.
What have you been up to this morning?
What have I been doing? I got up, I sleep in most days. So 7:45, I got up and had some lemon juice in water. I'm fasting at the moment, well, intermittent fasting. So I only eat for 8 hours of the day and fast for 16 hours of the day. So I got up and did some yoga. I did a fusion yoga with Nikki. She's doing them online at the moment, which is awesome. And then I've been hanging out with the kids, as we do every single day, 24/7 while we're in lockdown. Oh, yeah.
Testing times, isn't it?
It is. But, it's a good opportunity for me to reflect on how I can respond to others, because you can't control other people. You especially cannot control an almost 3 and 5-year-old. But you can control your responses to them and how you act to their drama.
Yeah, they're good little triggers.
Oh, yes. Nice mirrors.
Tell me about your life now.
My life now. So I guess, yes, as you mentioned, I found a lump on my breast last year. And so in November of last year, I went down to Dunedin, because we don't have a local hospital for diagnosis and breast checks. And I thought it was just, routine, just going to get it checked for peace of mind, going shopping afterwards, so it'll all be fine. I was at the beach beforehand, happy as nothing. And I went in the morning and they looked at the lump and they said, yeah, it's probably nothing, but, we're going to check everything out because you've come all this way, you've driven 4 hours. And by the afternoon, I'd had the full gamut of the tests. I'd had biopsy, I'd had mammogram, I'd had ultrasound, and they pulled me into a room. And you don't want to be pulled into the room with the tissues, and you got a nurse there with sad face and a information pack for you, and the surgeon's got sad face, and you're like, what the fuck? Sorry, I don't know if this is an explicit podcast or not. And then they said we are 99% sure that you have breast cancer. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks. It's a lot of that first meeting is a bit of a blur. It was just completely unexpected, and yeah, really just a massive kick in the guts, really. And I didn't really know what to do with myself, and drove home. I'd driven myself there, went by myself because I didn't expect to be diagnosed with anything. I was healthy. Um, and then, so they tested some nodes under my arm as well, and they tested positive. And so 3 days later, it all came back, and they confirmed that it was hormone driven cancer. Again, another kick in the face because I work in hormones healing. It's like, oh, the irony. Okay. Um, and then, so that was like, okay, all right. We met with them again. They said, okay, you're going to have a mastectomy, and then you'll probably need chemotherapy, maybe radiation, but we can cure this. You're going to be okay. And then about a week later, I had a CT scan, and then they saw that it had spread to my liver. So it had metastasized to my liver. And when cancer metastasizes and it spreads beyond that primary tumor location, so beyond the breast and beyond the lymph nodes, it then becomes stage 4. And it then becomes what they class as incurable. So they went from going, we're going to cure you, you're going to be fine, to we can't cure you anymore. This is just palliative care now. We're just going to help you with quality of life, but there's nothing we can really do for you. You know, we can give you chemotherapy, we can give you radiation, but it's not really going to do much. It might extend your life a little bit. That really didn't sit well with me. And so I embarked on my own little journey, went over to Mexico to a place called Hope for Cancer. Did a whole lot of holistic therapies. We can go into them if you want to, that covered physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. That was a 3-week journey, and ended with a bit of a bang of me vomiting blood about 2 hours before getting on a plane, and then still getting on the plane, which might have been a bit irresponsible, but it seemed like the right decision to make at the time. And came back and had some further tests, and it showed that the cancer that I have in my body is very aggressive, very aggressive. Well, it was very aggressive. And so we decided the best course of action was to do some chemotherapy alongside my alternative therapies. And so I ended up doing 8 rounds of chemotherapy. We usually have, well, they recommended 12 rounds, but we stopped at 8. One, because I had some peripheral neuropathy. So my fingertips had started to go numb, which is a common side effect of paclitaxel, the chemotherapy drug I was on. And because of COVID. COVID came, alert 4, and chemo wipes your immune system, and I needed a strong immune system to protect myself from COVID. So I finished the 8 rounds, and they say that they usually see the most benefits around 7 to 10 rounds anyway. The whole 12 round thing, they're like, yeah, we don't really know why we recommend it. It's just what we do. And it's like not really encouraging for me, but okay. So that was about 5 weeks ago that I stopped chemo, I think it was. And so I've just been continuing daily with my my natural therapies, my physical therapies, deeper work on spiritual side of things, emotional work, exercise, all the things that I can do at home. And I'm more than happy to go into what I'm doing if you'd like to.
Yeah, definitely. And have you noticed an improvement going through all of those conventional and alternative therapies?
Yeah. So after Hope for Cancer, there was the scans. So they do scans when you arrive, and they do scans when you leave. And it showed that my primary tumor had shrunk, and so had my metastases, and my liver had shrunk down a bit, but it was all a bit wonky, and there was inflammation in my body because it had been slammed with all these treatments. So it was hard to see exactly what progress had been made there, but it taught me a lot. With chemotherapy, going into chemotherapy, I had ascites, which is fluid in the abdominal cavity. So it's not actually in your digestive system. It's kind of in between the skin and the digestive system. It's not meant to be there. So when I got back from Mexico, I looked like I was 9 months pregnant. And then when I was in hospital in Auckland, they drained 5 liters of fluid off my tummy, which was very uncomfortable. But it made me a lot more comfortable after, because then I could eat. And so then I spoke to my oncology team here about it, and they said, we can start you on chemo right away, and that's going to hopefully push things back. And it did. It got rid of the ascites, well, alongside everything else that I'm doing. It's really hard to say this one thing caused this benefit or this made this progression, because I've done all the things all at once. So I can't really separate out what one thing is, but I think the chemo did help with the ascites. I think it helped to reduce my everything else down to pretty much nothing. My liver function's looking really good at the moment. My breast lump, it was about 5 centimeters by 2 centimeters. It feels about 1 by 1 now.
Wow.
If that, some days it doesn't feel like anything at all. It's hard to find, when before it was, half my breast, because I have small breasts. I can't feel anything underneath my arms, so no lymph nodes are apparent to me now. My liver has shrunk back down underneath my ribs where it should be, whereas it was taking up half my abdomen when I was in Mexico.
Yeah, I remember feeling it, and it was almost near your belly button.
Yeah, it was very enlarged, very, very disturbing. I was in liver failure, and they told me that, but I was in denial also. So I'm not in liver failure. Looking back, I was. But I'm not anymore. The liver's incredible. If you look after it enough, it can regenerate. So I can't really feel anything now. I feel good. I have a CT scan on Tuesday. So, I mean, my liver feels good from the outside and the bloods look okay, but I can't really see what's going on, obviously, because I can't see into my liver.
Yeah, sure.
So the CT scan next week will show us a little bit more, hopefully.
Yeah, great. Oh, I
I'm
hope it's
feeling
some good
good.
results.
Yeah.
Cool. And can you tell me a little bit, because you went straight into when you actually got the diagnosis, but there was a little bit of a journey before you got to Dunedin, to the hospital, to get that diagnosis. And that's something that you've brought a lot of awareness to women out there. And I know you've inspired a lot of women to go get their breasts checked, because I think that whenever we find something wrong with ourselves, is we can sometimes worry about the worst case scenario, and it is sometimes easy to ignore that. So from when you first felt something wrong, what went through your mind and what then happened?
So I first felt a lump probably in May or June of last year, 2019. I thought, it's probably nothing. It's probably June that I felt it. And I was still breastfeeding at the time. And, we can have breast changes when we're breastfeeding, and lumps and bumps can pop up here and there just because of blocked milk ducts or whatever, or if you haven't fed for an extended time. And so I was going to France in July. So I thought, okay, well, if it's still there when I get back from from France, then I'll go and get it checked, because I will have stopped breastfeeding for a while. And it was when I got back, obviously. And so I went to the doctors, and she felt it, and she said, it's probably nothing to worry about. Just keep an eye on it. And that was that. And then a month later, it was still there, growing. And so it didn't really sit well with me that it was just a wait and watch. So I went and saw another doctor, and he said, yep, it's probably nothing, but I can see you really want a referral to get scans done and get proper checks. So I will send this referral off to Dunedin Hospital for you to get checked. I don't know why we can't get scanned here. We've got an ultrasound machine here, but that's another story. And then, so I'm like, sweet, okay. And then 2 weeks later, I still hadn't heard anything. I emailed my doctor and said, hey, just wanting to know what's going on. And he said, oh, sometimes these things can take time to come back. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm sure you'll hear back soon. After a month, still nothing. I thought, okay, well, maybe there's just a lot of scans going on. And so I called through to my doctor, and they said, yeah, maybe we've sent the referral, maybe you need to call Dunedin. And I called Dunedin Hospital, and they said we never received a referral. And that was a kind of a what the fuck moment. So yeah, they sent a referral, but it got lost in the system. So there were 2 points of what they would call a medical misadventure, where the first doctor just dismissed it as nothing, and then the referral got lost completely. But yeah, I think everyone should get checked, no matter how big or small the changes are. And it's not just lumps. It can be nipple changes, it can be discharge. You really need to pay attention to what's going on with your breasts, ideally on the same day every single month, or the same day of your cycle every month, because especially if it's hormone driven, it can go up and down. So that was something that, for me, I knew about cancer, and I knew about breast cancer, but I didn't really know the intricacies of hormone-driven cancers and triple negative or triple positive or HER2 and all of these intricacies. So the fact that my lump would go up and down through my cycle, I was like, well, maybe it's not cancer, because you would think that a lump would just stay there. But it did fluctuate in size. And so if well, I recommend all women to check them, and girls as well, and men actually. Same day cycle. Obviously, men don't have a cycle, so just pick a day of the month. But women, same day cycle, so you're not having that hormonal influence, and you can compare it to the previous month. And then if you notice any changes at all, there is zero harm in going and getting an ultrasound.
Yeah.
Ideally, you'd get a thermogram as well. Maybe not a mammogram, but I tried to fight against the mammogram, but it was all just too much of a whirlwind at that point. And so I got one anyway. It wasn't that bad. And in the scheme of things, it probably didn't make any difference to
Yeah.
cancer. I already had cancer. So.
By the way, we're having some chuckles and I'm on a video call with Kate and she is always bubbly and very positive. So that's why I am having my little giggles here. Perhaps what we should do is go into a bit of your background and why you love to work with women with hormones, because you've had some insight and you're still exploring some stuff around your cancer. So could you tell me a little bit about why you were inspired to do the work that you do?
Not why I was inspired to work at McDonald's.
Yeah, we'll skip past that one.
I was 16. I was 16. It was very good training. Thank you very much. Very good for customer service.
I have heard that.
Very good for management skills. Anyway, so yes, I was a beauty publicist after that, which is very ironic because I worked for all the mainstream toxic chemical places. Smelled nice though. Looked pretty.
Got the free stuff?
Got lots of free stuff. Lots and lots of free stuff. Anyway, so when I was in my 20s, well, I went on the pill when I was about 16. And I was on it for about 10 years. Towards the end of being on the pill, before I came off, my period went missing in action. And I didn't really think anything of it. And then I came off the pill and it was still missing in action. And the doctors, said nothing to worry about right now. You just stay on the pill until you want to conceive. And then that didn't sit right with me. I'm okay. I'm going to try and get my hormones rebalanced and stay off the pill. We want to conceive soon. And my period didn't come back for maybe 6 months. And so I decided to get further testing done. And so I had something called a hycosi, which is where they inject fluid and blow up a balloon in your uterus. It's very uncomfortable. I thought I was some kind of hero and rejected their suggestion to have some naprogesic or painkiller. Don't need that. They said it's like really strong period pain. Like, I can handle that. Coming from someone who hadn't really had a period for about 10 years, like, it's fine. Don't be a hero. Take the pain meds. Anyway, so from that, they did scans and they saw that I had polycystic ovaries. And so they said to me from that I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, that I wouldn't be able to conceive naturally, and that I would need to start IVF straight away. I'm a very stubborn person. And I said, no. And I did some further research into it. I didn't have I had polycystic ovaries. So I had multiple cysts on my ovaries, but I didn't have polycystic ovarian syndrome. So polycystic ovarian syndrome is a collection of symptoms. So you've got your polycystic ovaries. You've also got elevated androgen, so your elevated testosterone. You'll often have some insulin or glucose dysregulation in there as well. I didn't have those other two. My testosterone was low, my insulin was fine, my glucose control was fine. What I did have was something called hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is basically where your brain stops communicating to your ovaries, shuts off all hormone production. So all of my hormones were flatlined: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Cortisol was high, nice stress hormone floating around. So this all happened. It was all shut off, one, because of stress. I was a chronic stressor, just always go, 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 didn't know how to stop, and just very highly strung. And I was also very lean. So I was a group fitness instructor, personal trainer, and very, very lean. So I was teaching up to 16 hours a week of aerobics classes. Sometimes I'd chuck in some extra training for myself on a day because, everyone needs to do 2 or 3 hours of training a day. Why not? And so my body fat percentage was about 13%. body fat, which is, if you're trying to get a visual of what that looks like, it's around what women, fitness competitors, would look like when they're up on stage on competition day.
You had a six
When
pack?
I had an 8-pack.
Oh, an
Yeah,
8-pack.
I had an 8-pack. Yeah, I'll own it. Worked hard for that 8-pack. It wasn't serving me, but I worked hard for it. Yeah, so when they've stripped all the water weight off and there's nothing to them but muscle, so nothing really. And 13% body fat is way too low for hormone function for women. You want it up around 20%. Men can go lower. They're a lot more resilient in terms of hormonal health. But women, we need a higher body fat percentage, which is something that people struggle with, especially with our society these days that are all about abs and buns of steel and no fat at all, but fat's actually good for us. It's for hormone production. So the way to reverse this, the self-inflicted condition that I had found myself in, was to eat more, especially eating more carbohydrates. So I'd gone very, very low carbohydrate, pretty much keto, stress less, exercise less. So in theory, very, very easy. In practice, not so easy, but I got there, and then I managed to get my cycle back naturally, and I managed to conceive both children naturally. And so from there, I needed to help other women, because I could see that there were so many women struggling with this hypothalamic amenorrhea, but also being misdiagnosed with things like polycystic ovarian syndrome, or even endometriosis, or early menopause, that they're in their 30s and the doctors are going, well, you've just got early menopause. No.
Yes,
No.
you're someone who's very determined, and if you're told something, you'll find another way, won't you?
I will. But yeah, so that's why I created my ebook. That's why I created my e-course, to help other women navigate the whole infertility, hypothalamic amenorrhea, because it's very hard to navigate by yourself. I spent thousands of dollars trying to navigate the situation myself, throwing all sorts of therapies and things at it, when really I just needed to eat more, exercise less, and manage my stress, which are free except for the food, but you got to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. I often talk about externalizing your problems, so searching for the diet, or spending a lot of money on supplements, or doing online courses, which there are some really great resources out there. But even as a health practitioner, sometimes we do need someone else to come in at it unemotionally and see the bigger picture and put the structure in place for us. And a lot of the time it is about just doing less. People will go to a practitioner and say, tell me what to do. And it's like, actually, you need to strip things away and make your life a lot easier, because you're causing yourself more stress, putting yourself under pressure to do.
Definitely. I think especially, I think everyone needs to have that external support from a health practitioner, but no, not especially, but I would really strongly encourage health practitioners, if they are going through health issues themselves, to not try and self-diagnose or self-treat, to have someone to look after them, to tell them what to do, especially with something as big as cancer. I've got a whole team of people looking after me right now, because it's just so friggin' overwhelming. I do a lot of my own research, but just keeping on top of it all is near impossible. And it's just nice to be able to hand it over to other people and go, okay, you're really experienced in this, tell me what to do.
Yeah, make some decisions for me. Help me make decisions.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And then tell me a little bit about your personality that you've had a lot of reflection and insight into over these, I think you've always been aware, but over the last 6 to 9 months, you've become a lot more aware. And I know that I was very attracted to you as a friend, because I'm like, gosh, this lady can do anything and she doesn't make excuses, and you can push really hard. And you have achieved a lot in your lifetime. But do you think that has anything to do with what's going on at the moment as well?
Yes. I'm actually reading an interesting book at the moment. It was published in the 80s. I think it's called Getting Well Again. And they talk about and this won't resonate with everyone. So I say, tune into what resonates with you, because what I'm going to say, it's not about blame. and I don't want anyone to take offense to it. This is just what I have found has really resonated with me, and I can see how I have participated in my illness. I'm not going to say it's purely my doing that I have caused cancer in my body, but I think I've definitely participated in it in the past because of my personality. I'm very much a type A personality. I'm very much a doer. Like, as you said, I don't accept excuses when people are like, wah, 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 and pull your finger out. I don't, no. Complain to someone else. Sorry. Just do it. No. And I would push myself harder and harder, and I would tell myself I'm just pushing myself really hard right now to get to this goal, so then I can relax a little bit more. But then, of course, I was always addicted to that goal, and always addicted to just doing and driving. And when you achieve one goal, like, okay, now I'm going to do another thing, and it's always chasing. And so that break time, it never comes, and I never implemented it. So I would work from the moment the kids were in daycare. I'd have the afternoon off because they were there, and then when they'd go to bed at night, then I would work for a few more hours at night. So I wouldn't have any downtime. I wouldn't have any me time. I wouldn't have any self-reflection time. I wouldn't have any decompression time. I did meditate, but then I went through a big block of not meditating, and I brought that back now, which is good. But it was just always go, go, go. And I didn't do things for myself that brought me joy outside of my work. My work brings me joy. I love my work. And that would be my answer to people going, well, you need to have some time off. But my work really brings me joy. It brings me fulfillment. That sense of purpose. But it's not the same as doing other things that bring you joy, like horse riding. I love horse riding.
We have to go horse riding.
I know, we need to go horse riding.
Been.
There's so many beautiful horses around here that I just want to go up and touch. Anyway, I just want to pat you. You're my spirit animal. So in this, I've had consultations with Tracy Chandler, my integrative doctor. I've had consultations with you, with Shannon Callaghan, and multiple practitioners, and everyone said, so what do you do for joy for yourself? What are your hobbies? And at that point, I start stuttering. I don't. And then I might mention, I think there was the first consultation with Tracy. Aaron was sitting with me, so Aaron, my husband, and she goes, "What are your hobbies?" And I listed off a few, and he just looked at me as, "What? When do you do these things?" We've been together for 14 years. He said, "When do you do these hobbies?" Yeah. So
what were they?
It was hard to find them because I've lost touch with hobbies and what brings me joy. Nature walks, getting out, hiking, just going and hanging out at the lake, and drawing, colouring in, horse riding, dancing. Yeah, but I'm still trying to find out what things bring me joy that I want to implement into my life on a regular basis. So this year I'm not working really. Yeah. So it's all about bringing back that joy and turning inwards and seeing what my soul, my internal needs rather than my external, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
just in regards to having that type A personality of pushing and doing all the time, do you have any idea why you were like that? Was there something that happened?
My parents are very high achievers, very, very high achievers. So there was always importance placed on grades and achieving high marks and being successful, and getting really good marks at high school, and then going to university, and then getting good grades at university, and then graduating, and then going into a career, and then staying in that career, and then retiring. The previous generation of what you should do.
Yep.
When we know that doesn't necessarily entail success. Like Richard Branson dropped out of school at 15 or something. So yes, there was always pressure put on us by my parents probably, but also self-inflicted pressure. But I think that was from growing up in that way. I had a few things go on in my life in high school. My dad had a really bad car accident. Um, there were some girls that weren't so nice to me. And so I just kind of threw myself into achieving, just focusing on getting good grades, athletic performance, community service, just
Mm.
achieving. So it could kind of distract me from everything else, I guess.
So, something that you touched on was the hormonal issues that you had when you were younger and been on the pill. And now looking into your cancer and the hormone driven cancer, you don't actually have any family history and you don't have any risk factors for having breast cancer. So, what are you exploring now in terms of hormones?
Mm. So the physical side of things. So with that, so I have, as I mentioned, I have a hormone-driven cancer. So it's estrogen and progesterone receptor positive, which means that part of the fuel for the cancer is estrogen and progesterone. For me, the estrogen receptor is 30%, progesterone is 10%. So it's not highly driven by hormones, but there is that component, which is why I'm on a 3 monthly injection of something called Zoladex, which has shut off my ovaries and put me into medical menopause, which is super fun. But one of the things that actually really gave me the nudge to get the second follow up with the doctor was I did an Eve test. So Ben Warren here in New Zealand, he does something called an Eve test, which is a hormone profile. It's like a mini version of the Dutch test, which shows your different estrogen metabolites. So you've got your estrogen, which everyone talks about, but then you've got all different estrogen metabolites in terms of what it breaks down to. So you've got your 1, 2, 4, 16. 1, 2 are healthy, good estrogens. 4 is a precursor to cancer. 16 is really not great. My 4-hydroxyestrone was elevated in that test, which it's generally elevated when there's DNA damage going on, and it can be a precursor to cancer. So that was a nudge for me to go, okay, let's really push for this testing and scan, because I now have this lump in my breast, and I also have this test result that I've just done that shows that my detoxification of these hormones is not really that great. And my detoxification, so we detox those hormones out naturally out of our body. So our liver packages them up, and then we excrete them via bowel movements, via urine, via sweat. And my detoxification was clearly not working that well. And I trace this back to, I have something called MTHFR, so methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase enzyme deficiency mutation.
Mouthful. But a lot of people do actually have this gene mutation, don't they?
A lot of people do. And there's a couple of different mutations. I have one, the C677T, and I'm homozygous for it. So, which means I have 2 copies. It's the worst kind. Fun. But it's not the end of the world. It doesn't always express itself. But in me, it was expressing itself. It was down regulating my detoxification capacity.
And it can
I
also
didn't.
have to do with infertility too, because it has to
Yeah,
do with folic acid metabolism.
yeah, infertility and recurrent miscarriages.
Mm.
Definitely recurrent miscarriages. I see this a lot with women with recurrent miscarriages,
It
and it's
doesn't
never
actually get,
tested.
yeah, it doesn't get
It's
tested
not
in
tested.
New Zealand.
Not at
In
all.
Australia, it's a little more tested, but more integrative GPs and naturopaths.
Yeah, yeah. It's very sad that it doesn't get tested. Same as vitamin D. Well, we
Mm.
can pay for vitamin D, and I would encourage it because it's highly linked to cancer. My vitamin D was low as well. I was deficient in vitamin D.
Even though you're a sun lizard.
Exactly. Yep. And eating all my liver and egg yolks. Yeah. So there was that part of it. And so I'm now where I'm at is I've got a 3-monthly Zoladex, and I'm meant to be taking letrozole as well, which is an aromatase inhibitor, which inhibits the conversion of your testosterone to estrogen in your peripheral tissues away from your ovaries. I'm being a little bit naughty and not taking the letrozole for a few reasons that I'm not, and as you said, we're not doctors, please, please do your own research around this and really know your histopathology and your pathophysiology of your particular cancer if you have it. Because the percent of receptors for hormone fueling on my cancer is so low, because my estrogen in itself is so low, like I was already at postmenopausal levels before I was diagnosed with cancer, it didn't make sense for me to shut off everything in my body with an aromatase inhibitor, because we do also need some estrogen to protect our bones, to protect our heart, to protect our immune system. The letrozole absolutely obliterated me. I felt horrible on it, like achy joints, achy muscles, couldn't sleep, moody, irritable, just not a happy camper. So I am focusing instead on the Zoladex. I'd love to get off the Zoladex, but I'm not at the moment. And I've spoken to several open-minded practitioners and they have agreed to not get off it. So I'll stay on it for now. But I'm taking metformin, which is usually a diabetic drug, but it can also be utilized as a kind of aromatase inhibitor. So because we need that insulin to act as that aromatase inhibitor of switching the testosterone to estrogen at the peripheral tissues, if we don't have as much insulin because we're taking the metformin, then there's not going to be as much of that conversion. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm also going to be monitoring my hormones very, very closely with regular Dutch tests. They are more expensive, but, worth it, I guess.
It gives you a clear breakdown of what's going on and if you are actually detoxifying.
Yeah, so I can see what's happening with those estrogen metabolites. I'm taking the high-dose broccoli sprout powder and coffee enemas to help support liver detoxification. Coffee enemas are super fun, putting coffee up your bottom. And I have saunas every second day. I juice, I eat a crap load of vegetables. So supporting detoxification as much as possible, dry body brushing. Yeah,
great. And you look amazing
oh,
still.
thanks. I've drawn my eyebrows on. They're growing back slowly.
So you've gone into a lot of the external stuff that you're doing, the changes that you've made there. But as you know, I love to go into the emotional aspect of things. And we've touched a little bit on that, on your personality and how you can see that maybe some of your traits may have had some sort of contribution to how you're feeling, and you've made changes there. Now, we had a session together and I wrote up a little summary for you because you were going to the Hope for Cancer Centre in Mexico, and you also knew that you were going to be addressing the emotional aspect. When it was brought to your attention, the need or the benefit of addressing the emotional aspect, how did you respond to that?
I think, oddly enough, so I have a very science-minded background, very much show me the randomized controlled trial. But for me, it resonated more than everything else. I knew my diet didn't cause my cancer. I mean, there were a few lifestyle factors, and yes, I could have supported my detoxification better, but I knew that wasn't the main contributor. And so when people started saying, have you looked at the emotional cause of this? And when I looked at, the emotional link between breast cancer and right breast cancer, it did resonate with me, because it was like, oh shit, that's me.
Because I think a lot of people some people were saying, well, if Kate, who's young, she's got kids and she has worked on her hormones since a very young age and she gets cancer, what's the point of being healthy? And there is definitely an aspect of emotions that don't get talked about with a lot of people's illnesses or injuries that they go through. So yeah, let's go into that a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that I was healthy with food and everything, I think that probably put it. I was probably would have been diagnosed earlier with cancer if I wasn't as physically healthy as I was. So I wouldn't say go and get yourself some Twinkies and Tim Tams and go and
Good for
sit on
you,
the couch and do nothing.
thanks.
That's not going to help you cause.
Because you didn't actually have any real symptoms, did you, apart
No,
from the lump?
no, the lump. Towards in November, I did have a bit of nausea because my liver was going wonky, but no, nothing
Mm.
else. But I look back now at photos of last year and think, and I look at my eyes, and I don't think I looked that healthy.
Hmm.
I think I look healthier now
Yeah, right.
post chemo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the emotional side of things. So did you want to talk
Yeah.
about the link
So,
between the right breast? You've got a better, a more succinct definition, probably the right side breast and
yeah, well, how about, are you okay if I read the summary that I sent to you back in December? So this is
yep.
just before you went to Mexico, and it's just split up. So I'll go through all the bits and pieces and how we put them together. I do always like to teach people about the left and right side, or the feminine, which is your left, and right side, which is your masculine. So I'll explain this first and then tie in the explanation I gave you late last year so people can get a better idea of how it all works together. The feminine, or left, represents energy around following your intuition, emotional expression, and creativity. The masculine, or right, is about being logical, physical, structured. Okay, so now we'll get into the breakdown I gave you. We started with your chest because this is where your breast cancer is. This area is the heart chakra, which governs emotions around love, giving and receiving love, unconditional love, and self acceptance. Its shadow is resentment that can come up around past relationships in your life. We can also look at the breast size. Big breasts can represent a real nurturing quality or sometimes over nurturing of others. However, I didn't think that this related to you because you do have smaller breasts. What I could see could be going on is seeking approval and acceptance from others and doing this through actions of hard work. The right breast can hold repressed anger and can relate to males in your life. When I asked you how you are with anger, you acknowledged that you've never really expressed anger or have a lack of understanding on how to express anger. This then related to your liver, which is linked with the emotion of anger, irritability, and frustration. The liver is huge for also detoxifying emotions as well as hormones. I actually first saw you a few years ago, once off. I met Aaron, your husband, first, and I think he sent you in. I remember thinking, this person's got it all together, but there was one thing that I highlighted to you: your left hip. Your glutes weren't functioning very well. This can have to do with your ability to support yourself with feminine aspects, that intuition, creativity, and emotional expression. At the time, you didn't really give me much when I said this, but it's come back into play now, knowing you better, mainly around emotional expression. It can also be around how you feel supported as a mum or how supported you feel from other females in your life. The lack of activation around the muscles in this area indicates more that you don't feel you receive that support to embrace your feminine. Whether that's from yourself or others, I believe you're working on this. We then went on to talk more about the emotions and their expression, as I believe this is what required working on. It came up that there was potential discomfort with conflict, and we talked about how conflict is and can be healthy, and to embrace conflict with boundaries, to talk with others when you're not happy with what's been said or what's happened in the present and in the past. So it came down to that it felt like your masculine has been really well developed, your right side, and perhaps driven a bit hard. And this was shown in your ability to follow through and achieve a lot in your life, plus the history with your physicality and being able to develop an eight pack. Your logical mind as well, which we've seen a lot here. You have a really high intellect and a want for understanding. You've done so much research into your type of cancer and all the things that you can do to help it. You've also acknowledged that you can sometimes get distracted with research and investigating. So I mentioned to you at the time to be aware of when it becomes a procrastination from feeling what emotions may be coming up for you. This is a time to embrace your feminine, which has been neglected and hasn't been nurtured. Give it some attention. I talked about having an awareness around the behavior that drives you, as well as being able to acknowledge what you're feeling, and how you need to be supported, and to express this. This was perhaps linked to not feeling emotionally supported when you were younger. In terms of people, we came up with mother and females with the left side, and we looked more into your father and previous relationships due to having cancer on the right breast. And there were some feelings that came up around the needing to protect or feeling sorry. It was recommended to let go of the strong sense of having to do all the time and to embrace all the things that you really desired to do and get an idea of what you were working towards. Was it financial stability or was it freedom? And when is enough enough? Acknowledging what needs addressing in your life, acknowledging those emotions, and to be able to express frustrations, anger, and allow conflict.
Yes. Agreed.
Mm. A lot to
Okay.
digest there, but I know
Yes.
you're familiar with it.
Yes.
And actually, there's a really great book by Gabor Mate called When the Body Says No. And he talks about different personality types according to different disease states. And he talks about a motor neuron condition, but he also talks about breast cancer. And he also talks about repressed anger and frustration. So that's probably one that I'd want to explore with you, or anything you want to say about that.
Yeah, the repressed anger thing is, it is, yeah, definitely. It's something that I struggle with. And again, that book that I was talking to you about before, the one that was published in the 80s, they talk about how they've found that people who come to them with cancer they're often portrayed as they're always positive, always optimistic, always bubbly, never complaining, never angry. And yeah, I am like that. And you've told me off for laughing inappropriately sometimes. I deal with things. I deal with things with nervous laughter. And I try and make a joke out of it. And I've made probably inappropriate cancer jokes on my social media. But that's how I deal with things, or how I dealt with things. And yeah, so I guess I'm still learning how to express my anger in a healthy way. That's something that I do still struggle with. Conflict, I'm getting better at. So I used to struggle a lot with anxiety. And in that, again, there was that fear of conflict, that fear of judgment. If I felt that I was being judged, or if people were, if there was conflict coming up, then I would get so incredibly anxious and have panic attacks. And I couldn't remember a time in 2019 that I didn't feel anxious, didn't have that tightness in my chest, except when I was sleeping. When I got the diagnosis of breast cancer, that all went. All the anxiety went, because the cancer's big. And so I had less fucks to give about what other people thought about me, and allowed myself to speak up a bit more, and speak up for myself, and go, no, actually, I don't agree with that, and be okay with that, and be okay with that conflict. But I still wouldn't say I'm amazing at the whole anger thing. And I spoke about this with the emotional counselor at Hope for Cancer as well, because she spoke about how with the liver it's repressed anger. And we went through all of my past, and she's like, you should be angry about this. I'm like, yeah, I guess. And I mean, that's something that it did relate to me, but more so to other family members, which I can't really go into
Sure.
on podcast. And so, yeah, still navigating that side of it. There's the link with resentment as well on the right side. Again, still trying to find my way with that. I did with the Hope for Cancer emotional side of things. We tracked back all through my life and looked back at all the different things that could be potentially impacting on my health now, and emotional traumas that could still be there, of things that could have happened in my life. Like, it could have been as simple as being bullied at school or something, and just holding on to that and not forgiving and holding that resentment. And I do know there are sometimes some things from high school that I still hold on to, that I know I need to forgive. There's things that have happened in the past few years that I know I need to forgive. I know there's some things I need to forgive myself for as well. And that's, yeah, definitely all still a work in progress.
And how are you working through them?
Mm. Acknowledgement is the first step, Jen.
Very good. I agree.
Journaling, meditation, self-talk affirmations, placing my hand on my breast, saying, I love you, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you. Which is something that I heard in a meditation when I was in hospital, actually in Auckland, and I couldn't. It was one of the days, it was before I'd had the ascites drained, and I'd lost all of my blood, not all of my blood, a lot, and so I was lying in bed and I couldn't move. And I just had a doctor come in, and she said, has your oncology team spoken to you about your prognosis? And I said, yeah, they've said 3 to 8 years. And she goes, no, we're looking at a few months. With what's going on now, we're looking at a few months. She was a general medicine doctor. She had no place to say that. No doctor has any place to say that. And so then I went into this shitty deep spiral and lost it, just sobbing. And then after a few hours, I said, no, I can't stay in this place. I'm allowed to feel this emotion, but I need to pull myself out of it. I can't accept her prognosis as my reality, or it will become my reality. And so I listened to this meditation on an insight timer, it was specifically for cancer, and she was saying, place your hand on the tumor and repeat, I love you, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you. Which was hard. I was a sobbing mess, just lying there. Nurses come in, are you okay? Do you need pain medication? I'm fine, leave me.
That's interesting, because I often talk about providing space for emotions is really important as well. And you were in a moment of releasing your emotions, and then you were immediately offered something to suppress.
Yeah. And that's something that I'm working through at home as well. And when I do feel these emotions come up, allowing myself to feel them. Even the other 2 weeks ago, I was in the bath and I was feeling really emotional. And part of me was saying, just go back to your gratitude journal. Just write down all the things that are positive in your life and that you're thankful for. But then there's a bigger part of me going, no, stop, feel it. And then I just started crying, and I thought, I might cry for 20 minutes. 3 hours later, still crying. And in front of my kids as well. And a lot of people won't allow themselves to do that. But I think that's healthy, to cry in front of your kids.
Absolutely.
So they can then learn that it's okay to cry and process their emotions whenever and wherever. They don't need to wait until they're by themselves, or no one else is around, or no one's looking, or when it's an okay, appropriate time.
Yeah.
It's never necessarily going to be an appropriate time to lose your shit, and that's okay.
Yeah, because we do often come back to our childhood when we're older and just say, I never saw my parents express anger, or I saw really explosive anger and I don't want to be like that, or my parents never let me cry, or they just told me to shush when I cried. And it's often because they were uncomfortable with it. So if we can get more comfortable with our own emotions, acknowledging them and expressing them and teaching our kids that it's okay, then I think, yeah, it is amazing. And kids are resilient as well.
Absolutely. And they learn empathy, and they learn how to care for someone who's having that emotional release. And my kids are really good at it. They don't tell me to stop crying. They'll come and stroke my head, or they'll just come and sit with me, or Olivia will bring me a cushion because she knows I like to hold a cushion when I sit on the couch. It's just little things, and it's so they're 3 and 5, and it brings the emotions out more, because part of you thinks, this is not right, my small child shouldn't be nurturing me, but then there's another part going, this is really beautiful that my child is able to do this.
Yeah, and the fact that they just have this intuitive sense of being able to do it as well. Like, they're amazing. We've just talked about how they can push our triggers and our buttons, but they can be there for us as well.
I think it was actually one of those days when they were just being absolutely hard work. And it was like, why are you being such hard work? And that week, I think I even said to Luma, why are you so mean to me? You're not mean to your friends at daycare. Why are you mean to me? I think it was the same day, and then she was so sweet that evening. It just erased all of that.
Did that trigger some school bullying?
Maybe. I felt silly saying it to my 5-year-old. I did say it, I'm not making this up.
There is funny conversations that we have with them.
Yeah, but then journaling is helping a lot as well. And I'm working a little bit more with the spiritual side of things as well. And this might be a bit left of field.
No, go for it. I want to ask about that. So who are the emotional support people that you are working with?
Okay, so for the emotional side of things, I am doing journey work, so Brandon Bay's journey work.
Incredible.
I've had a couple of sessions, and that's quite full on, where they take you down the physical and the emotional journey, and you're basically crying for 3 hours straight. But you feel amazing after. And Jeanette's taught me how to just stop, and when you feel the emotions, and just allowing them to come up, like fully allowing them to come up, and not saying, okay, you've got this amount of time to allow your emotions, just allowing them to come up and feeling them and acknowledging them. So I'm doing that with her. I haven't done that with her for a little while because COVID. But I'm also working with a spiritual healer and mentor in Christchurch, whose name is Adam Curtis. And he's taught me more about connecting with my intuition and connecting with my spirit guides, which has been really, really fascinating. Really fascinating. For myself and for communicating with others as well. I still am wrapping my head around it. But so this might sound wacky to some people, but so I have spirit guides around me, and some I know and that I've met in before they passed away, and so there's actually their spirit there with me, and then there are others that I haven't met before, and they're just here to support me and guide me, and they sometimes give me a little nudge in terms of a physical discomfort that I might feel, to address something emotional, physical related to me. So I need to want to feel that emotion. It could be like, he gives the example of, if you've got a headache, it could be simply you haven't had enough water, or it could be them trying to communicate with you that they have a message for you. So it's that.
Yeah. I often say that to people as well, is that yes, there may be a structural issue, like you might have a hangover headache, and we know what that's from. But when you've got those physical discomforts where you can't really put your finger on it, you can't identify a trigger, then it's time to start to look into the emotions. Or if you've gone and sought treatment and that's not helping, that's when we have to start to try and still deal with the hard stuff, the emotions. And some people think it's a bit cruel, like if you've got cancer or if you're really unwell, why would we make you acknowledge emotions that are really difficult to deal with? But the people that I've spoken to that have come through some pretty serious things, they have acknowledged and they have done that work.
You need to do the work. And I've been stuck in at the start, I was more drawn to, okay, what vitamins and things can I take? What healers can I go and see? What can I go and get other people to do for me to heal me? So they can essentially heal me, and I can pop the vitamins and do what I know what to do. But the real work and the real transformative work that's going to have lifelong impacts, and I'm already starting to reap the benefits now, is that emotional work that I have to do myself. Yes, I have facilitators, but I have to do the hard work myself. And it sucks sometimes. It really does, acknowledging those hurts and maybe confronting people in your past and saying, hey, why did you do this? And just getting some resolution. It's hard. But so this emotional counsellor at Hope for Cancer, she, after we had our first session, she goes, okay, you need to go and speak to this person to have some resolution around this. I said, well, that's going to be really hard. And do you know what she said? All she said was, breast cancer's hard. Touche, you win.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny where we think, we're thinking about that other person. And it's like, well, we do really need to heal ourselves so that we can help others as well.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love about the journey work is I often mention this to my patients as well, is that sometimes when that other person isn't receptive, where they won't listen to you, or they've passed away, so you can't actually communicate with them, journey work is a way of having that dialogue and coming to peace and getting forgiveness around the past hurts or the events.
Yeah.
There was something that came up when we were having a chat around relationships and anger, and we have to acknowledge your amazing partner, Aaron, your
He is pretty
husband.
amazing.
He
He's
is.
amazing.
And he's so quiet and humble, but
Yeah.
he is incredible. And I was really digging in going, right, do you have any issues in your relationship at all? Like, now's the time to acknowledge it.
With
But
me,
yeah, well, with you
yeah.
and Aaron, but you really couldn't fault him.
No.
He's definitely been there for you, but some past relationship stuff came up. Are you
For
able to
me,
are you able to go into that at all?
yeah, yeah. Now I'm trying to remember which past relationship. Past relationship with men.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. Well,
because this has to do with right breast, and we
yeah,
talked
yeah.
about it can have to do with your masculine drive of doing things, but also relationships with men.
Mm.
And yeah, you had this great relationship with Aaron, so well, you have a great relationship with Aaron. So then we started to go back into who are some other males in your life that maybe you've had some issues with.
So in the past, when I was growing up, I did have a few probably, well, more indirect issues with close males in my life, and part of the last few months has been addressing those directly with them. And that was the really hard stuff. Well, I perceived it to be hard. When I actually did it, it wasn't that hard at all. It was actually a really beautiful experience and nice to see where they were coming from, get their point of view from it on
Mm.
it. My male relationships in my early 20s before I met Aaron, I wouldn't even call them relationships. I think looking back, I probably didn't have enough self-worth and kind of just let men use me in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I resented that, and there was cheating, and it was tumultuous relationships with men in my early 20s, in my late teens, I would say.
Mm.
Yeah, I probably need to explore that more. Yeah.
And when you met Aaron, what was different?
We were friends before we got together properly. So I guess we just developed that friendship, and I guess it was easy. I don't know. We just clicked. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to get married. It wasn't a love at first sight. My soulmate. It took him 2 years to tell me he loved me. My friend's like, you should leave him. No, it's fine. He will tell me when he's ready. Um, yeah, I don't know what was different. He's just easy. He gets me. He's himself. He's not ever trying to prove anything. As you said, he's amazing, but he's humble.
It's very patient.
He's very, very patient. He is the calm to my crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, often our partners are the opposite to us for a reason, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So how has your relationships changed with parents, with family, and with your friends?
With my parents, I think we've gotten closer together. Definitely with my dad. Um, he's been through a lot of trauma in his life, physical trauma. Um, I've always been a bit of a daddy's girl, but in high school we kind of didn't drift apart. We just weren't as close as we used to be, but we have become a lot closer since my diagnosis. Same with my mum, definitely. Um, she's actually in ICU at the moment. She's all right.
No.
She just had a big operation.
Oh.
She'll be fine. Good hands there. I've become close with my friends as well, and people that I haven't, more of acquaintances in our community. When people heard of my diagnosis, we live in such an amazing place, and there's been such incredible support. I mean, people ask if any of my friends have dropped away, but I don't think so. Um,
Yeah, you've had incredible
I think,
support even from people that don't know you as well.
yeah, and I so appreciate that, and even people on social media. I had the Give a Little fund, and so many people donated, which was overwhelming and amazing, and I'm so grateful. But even people who said, I can't afford to donate right now, but I'm sending you prayers, positive energy. I'm thinking of you all the time. I felt that at that time. It was just, I felt that love. It was amazing. And it got me through some pretty hard times, reading those messages. I still haven't read all of them, actually. um, but yeah, I think it's brought me closer to everyone in my life. And it's also made me realize what matters in life is not just success and achievement and doing and doing and doing. It is those people in your life that you're close to. It's your friends, your family, your kids, your loved ones. It's spending time with them. Speaking of which, one has just come in.
Hi, Olivia.
Hello. Hi.
We're like, hi, get out.
Darling, I'm just
Love
recording a
you.
podcast. I'll be out soon.
And have a sleep.
Soon. But if you go out, otherwise there won't be any TV. Quick.
I'm going. Hey, you
I do. Thank you. Quick. So nice being closer with them.
Within four walls. Where were we? Oh, yeah. So relationships. And so what does life mean to you right now?
What does life mean to me? Life is everything at the moment. I wake up every day and I'm just grateful that I am living. I mean, when you're given a prognosis of 3 months, you wake up and, I mean, I didn't buy into that anyway. I know I'll live to an old age and I'll be a nana. I'll be that embarrassing nana at my children's 18th birthday party, doing that flossing dance. I can't do it now, but I will learn how to do that flossing dance by the time I'm 90.
You got quite a few years.
Yeah, I'll be the embarrassing granny. That's how I see myself.
You've already surpassed the 3-month prognosis, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, and everything's improving, so I don't see myself going back at any stage. I mean, it always can. You can die at any stage. Like, not just with cancer. Like, I had a friend pass away suddenly on last week, and she's healthy and happy. It can just happen to anyone. She did not have cancer, but I could get hit by a bus, could fall off a mountain, could be anything. So it's really just living in the moment and appreciating each day and focusing on slowing down. And I'm not perfect at it by any means. Still, I'm not working at the moment, but each day I go, okay, I need to bake something and I need to propagate some plants and I need to put some different plants in and repot them so they grow, and then make the beds and play with the kids, and some days I just need to give myself a talking to and go, let's just sit down and colour in.
Do nothing, watch some Netflix.
I would love to just sit down and watch Netflix, and I would if my children weren't here 24/7. We've actually not watching much Netflix at all at the moment. During the day, because the kids are with us, they might watch a little bit while I'm having a little nap. But at night time we were watching it, even if just for half an hour, when the kids were in bed. But we've stopped doing that now, just so we can have that connection time. Because we found we would just watch TV and then it'd be good night, and we wouldn't have connected all day because the kids are there all the time.
Yeah.
And it's all about the kids and the kids are kids. So yeah, even just that half an hour to an hour of just us time. And I know that's something that you and Gav are quite good at doing. And it does make a difference.
It does, yeah, because we can get so busy and we've both got our own projects that we can just work on them, him down in the garage and me in this little room. And we do have to remind ourselves to connect. We are binging on Money Heist at the moment. Someone got me onto that.
I've heard that's good.
It is really good, but we make sure, we catch up and just check in. Is there anything you want to tell me? before we sit down and watch it. And what has been amazing, actually, so I work with a life coach, Karima, who is brilliant, and we would always share our daily download with one another. And then we would always make sure that we finish off with love and appreciation. So we would say, I love and appreciate that you, and the other person would have to thank and receive it. And it can just be the smallest, most mundane things, but that is something that has made a big change for us. But recently, when, you know, just living with one another all the time, and we usually have quite a bit of space apart from one another, is that there was a lot of irritation building up. And she suggested that we start sharing an appreciation for one another, but also what I resent about you, which I really love. I actually really
love.
Yeah.
It's really pissing me off right now.
I can definitely help you with some anger release.
And P.S. I love you.
Yeah. But to actually hold space and just receive and understand that, yes, there is something that someone resents about me, not to take it necessarily personally, but to understand that our behaviours are having an impact on other people. And I really love embracing emotions, and particularly the awkward emotions. And yeah, I love anger. So we'll have more chats.
Good. I do need a way to express my anger.
Great. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Maybe, obviously not any medical advice with anyone going through breast cancer or cancer, but do you have any inspiration or motivation that you would like to share with anyone going through cancer?
Don't give up hope. I would say don't give up hope. Don't buy into the prognosis. And if you are stage 4, if you have stage 4 cancer, they will tell you it's incurable. What that means is they don't know of a cure yet. But my belief is that there will be a cure if there isn't one already. There are people curing themselves all the time of stage 4 cancer.
Yeah, you've had lots of people reach out to you, haven't you?
Yeah.
Telling them that they were given months to live. Stage 4 as well, with metastases in their bones.
Exactly. And, you know, pancreatic cancer is metastasized, and pancreatic cancer is known for being the most aggressive, and they've survived. So an awesome book is Radical Remission by Kelly Turner. I would encourage everyone to get that. And because it goes through all of the different areas that people have addressed and had this radical remission of, you know, they've had stage 4 cancer and been given weeks sometimes to live, or days sent home on hospice. And they've turned themselves around by, could be as simple as breathing or singing or chanting, or everyone does something different. But I would say, don't give up hope, and address all of the aspects of your life. Don't leave any stone unturned. Don't just do the easy work. Dig into the hard work first. What do they say? What's that book? Eat the Frog.
Yeah,
There's a book called
there is.
I know it's related to work, but like doing the thing that you don't want to do first.
Yeah, don't procrastinate from it.
Yeah.
If it feels a little bit hard and challenging, is just check in with it. And if you feel like you need to do it, if you just get that glimpse that you feel like you need to do it, is just do it.
Yeah. I mean, nutrition is so incredibly important. But I think the things that are going to have the bigger impact on you is when you really dig into the emotional work, and not just addressing those things that have impacted you already, but learning how to handle things that are going to happen in the future.
Do you have any other references that you want to share?
Brandon Bayes.
Brandon Bayes, the Journey.
The Journey, yep. And Shaman Jurek's Spirit Hacking, I'm reading at the moment. And the book Getting Well Again, which I don't even know if you could buy because it's from the 80s.
Did someone give it to you?
Yeah. I'll Google it. It's a best-selling classic. There you go.
I can try and find it, and we'll pop all those references in the link.
Yeah, you can get it from Amazon.
Oh, you can? Okay, great.
There you go.
All right.
Paperback from $3.44.
Oh, wow.
The best-selling classic about the Simonton's revolutionary life-saving self-awareness techniques.
I know that you've recorded your own podcast, The Holistic Nutritionist, with Natalie K. Douglas, and you've talked more about your cancer journey and what you're taking what you've done on the physical level. So I'm really grateful that you've shared the emotional level with us and given us some insight into your personal life as well. I know that is quite difficult, but you're being really open and honest about your journey, very vulnerable, and you're sharing a lot of it on your social media as well, not for people to look at you, but to recognize what it is they can do and what they can change.
Thanks. Yeah, trying to.
Are there any other changes you're looking to do over the coming months or years?
No, I'm just taking it day by day, really, just focusing on enjoying each moment. Yeah.
Great.
Traveling around. I'd like to travel around New Zealand a bit more and Australia.
I think we have to now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really have a choice. Well, I didn't. So before COVID, I didn't because I can't get travel insurance overseas because I have cancer.
That's right.
I can't get medical cover, so I was just confined to Australia and New Zealand because I'm Australian living in New Zealand, so I have medical care in both countries. So I thought, oh well, travel around here. They're not exactly bad countries to travel around. They're beautiful.
They are, aren't they? And sometimes we don't realise what's on our front doorstep.
Some of the most beautiful places in the world.
That's just interesting. You touched on your insurance because that was something quite scary for you and probably why you pushed yourself to get on the plane, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you weren't actually insured while you're in Mexico if you had to go to hospital.
Exactly. And yeah, so as morbid as it sounds, so I vomited blood at 4:30 in the morning and our flight was at 8:30. When I vomited blood, I thought I was dying. I'm like, okay, this is it. And so what went through my head was I just need to get myself on that plane to get back to New Zealand because I would rather die on the plane and be taken back to New Zealand and than in a Mexican hospital and have my family have to deal with that financial burden. Morbid, but that's what was going through my head.
Yeah. There was something that I was going to think of saying after that. I can't remember. But that was great. Okay, well, should we wrap up? And I'll just ask you my 6 questions.
Oh, okay.
Some of them you've already spoken about throughout, but we'll just fire through them. So, what are you grateful for?
My yoga practice, my kids, your friendship.
Oh, thanks, Kate.
My husband. The sunny day.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Even though it's been cold, it's been some pretty incredible days. It's beautiful out there. What's your favourite book?
At the moment, Spirit Hacking by Shaman Jurek.
And do you have a movie recommendation?
Like an old one or a new one?
Anything you want to recommend?
Forrest Gump.
Oh, my time's limited. There's another child that's come in. Oh no, they're gone.
No.
Who's an inspirational person and why?
My friend Alice Nichols, who runs the Whole Daily.
Oh, she is incredible. I was talking about it yesterday.
She inspires me. She's just a no bullshit person. She just breaks down barriers for herself and for others, and is just I've known her for a long time. She's just has a beautiful heart as well.
She's pretty cool. I've also not met her. She's just a friend of a friend, but she really comes across really well on social media.
She's a cool chick.
Yeah. And what is something that you think everyone should try?
Food-wise or anything?
Anything goes.
Horse riding.
Yes, cool. We'll book that in as soon as we know we can.
So many people have never been horse riding.
Yeah. It's cool,
like
isn't it?
like a meditation. Yeah. It gets you out of your head.
Yeah. All right. That's probably going to be one of the first things that we book when we're able to. And what is a belief that you think people should embrace to live a more fulfilled life?
That they get to choose their path. In any given circumstance, they get to choose.
Good one. Nice way to wrap it up. Where can people find you?
So my website is theholisticnutritionist.com, Instagram, The Holistic Nutritionist, same as Facebook, Twitter. I'm not on it, so don't go there. Well, I'm on it, but I never go on it. Yeah.
Great. Cool. Well, thank you so much. It was really awesome to touch on all of these things and see how well you are doing. And
Thanks.
yeah, I look forward to being part of the rest of your journey and catching up with you and having some good food as well.
Yes.
We have to eat early though, don't we, to get your
Yes.
fasting time?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Before 6.
okay. But it would be great to share a meal with you guys and have our kids play together again.
Yes.
And yeah, just catch up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
Cool. Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Jen.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Art of Listening to Your Body podcast. Anything shared during this episode is for information only. It does not replace professional advice from a healthcare practitioner. If you are experiencing pain, injury, or illness, seek advice that is catered to your individual needs. If you're a health and wellness practitioner, physical therapist, body worker, coach or trainer, and want to learn more about how to read the body and understand the deeper emotions at play behind physical issues, I've got an offer for you. I'm launching a new online training start of June where I'll support you with video content, live group calls, and ongoing coaching to help you understand this work in a simple and practical way, give you confidence to integrate this work into your practice, and deliver a really holistic approach that helps your clients get unstuck and moving forwards. Places are limited, and I've got a special offer for you when you add yourself to the waitlist. Follow the link in the podcast notes, theartoflisteningtoyourbody.com/emotional-body. Add yourself to the waitlist, and I'll be emailing you this week with more information of what's in store. Thank you for listening to the Art of Listening to Your Body podcast. If you like what you've heard, I would love it if you could rate and review it and share with your friends. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My handle is The Art of Listening to Your Body. You can join my free Facebook group where I go live regularly to teach you about different conditions and the deeper underlying emotions. If you would like to get started with a foundational exercise, head to my website, theartoflisteningtoyourbody.com, and download your free Discover Your Core Values exercise.